Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool, from her she shed in her beautiful backyard. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
I dwell in the shadow of the Most High. Under His wings I'm safe tonight. Trouble may rise, the storm may roll, but His truth's a shield, it covers my soul. Oh, Lord, You are my refuge.
Yes, He's my refuge.
My fortress and my song.
He keeps me strong.
Through the fire, through the valley,
Carries me on.
You're the strength I lean upon. 10,000 falling at my side, still Your hand will be my guide. Angels watch me day and night. Hold me steady till morning light. Oh Lord, You are my refuge.
Yes, He's my refuge.
My fortress and my song.
He keeps me strong.
Through the fire, through the valley, You're the strength I lean upon. I will not fear the arrow that flies by day, nor the terror that walks in the night. For the Lord is with me. He is my salvation, my everlasting light. Oh Lord, You are my refuge.
Yes, He's my refuge.
My fortress and my song.
He keeps me strong.
Through the fire, through the valley, You're the strength I lean upon. Leaning on You, Lord. Leaning on You.
Hi, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. We do have fifth generation farmer and ex-Maha member Steve Jarvis with us today. First, though, I want to tell you about tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. You know, on Wednesdays, I'm not here live with everybody, but we do air an educational video or documentary, and producer Ron has picked romance scams, how scammers can, can people out of their savings. Oh, how scammers can, I think that's, or con people. Okay. I was like, what scams can so how scammers con people out of their savings. Okay, so I told producer Ron, I said, I have a prediction. I think that this particular documentary will end up getting more views than any other documentary out of the year, because people will want to know, how in the world have con artists done this? Oh my goodness. And anything that has to do with romance and all that kind of stuff, always, people are interested. But anyway, so we were joking about this. I thought it was okay. All right. So with that said, so that's tomorrow's show. We're going to be doing that documentary. I thought that was funny. So let's go ahead and bring Steve in. We got a lot to cover with Steve. Got a lot of things for you to see. So let's bring Steve Jarvis in. Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Hey, Michelle. Hey, everybody.
Oh, wow. Your voice so clear, and that's good. Okay. So I've got something for you to see. I want to start the show out, our time together with. So this is a guy who talks about what's happened in the past 6 years. So let's take a look at this and see what you think.
In the last 6 years, we've had a global pandemic, turned out to be nobody cares, nobody gets in trouble, nobody gives a shit. We find out that aliens are real. Nothing changes. Nobody gives a shit. Nothing happens. A global pedophile ring. Nothing happens. Nobody gets in trouble. Nobody gives a shit. We found out all the politicians are basically inside trading. That's how they make $140,000 a year. And then by the end of their term, or just in a couple of years, they're worth like $240 million. Nobody gets in trouble. Nobody gives a shit. And nothing changes. Found out the president actually was fake. Nothing happens. Nobody gets in trouble. Nobody gives a shit. 9/11 was staged. Nothing happens. Nobody gives a shit. Nothing changes. Like this is like from the year 2020 to 2026, like every other day is like a conspiracy theory being proven right. But nothing changes. Nobody gets in trouble. Nobody gives a shit. The whole Somalian thing. All these politicians that are like stealing billions of dollars, they don't get in trouble. Nothing happens. Nobody gives a shit. I mean, yeah, of course we all give a shit online, and we're like, I told you. But it's like, literally, like nothing happens. Nobody gets in trouble. No one gives a shit. Charlie Kirk, that guy totally did not just kill him. Like that one tranny dude did not kill him. Nothing happens. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gets in trouble. Like it's like, we started a country because Britain was charging us 3% tax. Now we pay 36% tax. Nobody gets in trouble. Nothing changes. Nobody gets. It's like, I think that's the most infuriating thing about finding out all these conspiracy theories that we've had. Oh, Pizzagate's real. Nobody gets in trouble. Nothing changes. Nobody gives a shit. It's like, it is so mind-boggling how they've like changed and manipulated the way our society and social norms are by just like releasing an overload of information that we're just like, I told you. I told you. It's like, I just don't understand. We should be taking these people into the streets and like executing them. Like, I mean, seriously, like that's like what we should be doing. That's what our great grandfathers and great grandmothers would be doing. I just don't understand how we find out these life altering conspiracy theories that turn out to be true and nothing happens. Nobody gets in trouble and no one gives a. It's insane. It's insane.
Okay, so, well, this is what happens when you put fluoride in the water, Steve. But between that, I think, and a mixture of half of I want to say half the country's in on it. All of our politicians, all of Hollywood, just about. I mean, you've got a few here and there that seem to be on the up and up, but other than that, it seems like it's just so rampant. People that we thought were good and, great, valuable contributors to our society turn out to be a bunch of crazy sicko pedophiles.
Well, and let me just say this too. One of the big reasons why nothing happens is because if you really look at the number of people that fight, it's probably only like 1% in America. You know, Michelle, you're on here, you throw down, you let me come in here and say what I'm, you know, and the thing about it is the 1% that do get in the fight, a lot of them, will they get drunk on access if they get up too close to these people like Brooke Rollins or President Trump or RFK? RFK came to my farm. I threw his top person under the bus the next week because people are afraid to say what the truth is, and people's moral compass is off. It's instead of it pointing the right direction, it's pointing the opposite direction, and everybody's zombified. And let me just say this too. The reason that you can't hardly do anything. So what are we going to do? We're going to load all our trucks up. We're all going to drive to Washington, D.C. with our guns, and we're going to arrest all these people. No, we have a system of order in our country, and it's in leaders in our country should be doing these things. And we're going to have a collapse in our government one way or the other with what's coming. But what you have to realize is the problem is, let's just say that all of a sudden that guy says, all right, I'm loading my truck up and I'm going to go, anybody's going with me, I'm going to start executing these people in the street. Well, here's what happens. Your local sheriff and your local police, the police, what they do, the police work for people who put policy out. That's why it's called the police department. They're not going to arrest these people because all of their insurance and all their money comes down through all that, and we pay for it. Our tax dollars pay for this nonsense going on in the United States, and they are going to take us out locally with our own sheriffs and our own police because these guys. And have you noticed how the police dressed? When I was a kid, police department, state troopers dressed in khakis. They were nice dressed. They had a pistol on. Man, these guys look like they're going to, World War III. They're dressed up with every kind of smoke grenade and everything else on them. And the thing is the way they approach the car, most of them are not friendly. I'm not saying all, but they are going to run the policy and they're going to keep us at bay. And that's what's going to happen. Now, if people in leadership will come out and call these names out, and you get somebody in the, judicial system that will prosecute some of these people, then people can build confidence in some leadership. But we do not have leadership in this nation on any level that can make this happen. We need some sort of, I actually told my wife this morning, I'm praying to God that there is actually some general or somebody that's a commander in the military that actually has, a compass that's pointed towards the creator of the universe and has some backbone for what's coming in this nation.
Lots going on. I mean, obviously we're hearing there's millions of pages of documents that has to do with Epstein. You and I were talking about how more and more people are talking about the Epstein files. This is not going away. And so, but yet the crazy gaslighting that we're getting, let's take a look just when you think you've heard it all. So now Kash Patel is claiming to not have any credible information of Epstein trafficking any girls or women to anyone other than himself. Take a look. This is insanity.
You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay.
Do you believe that, Steve?
Well, the reason he's saying that is because I'm going to say that most of the people in Washington, D.C. are involved in it. And let's just say that you weren't involved with the girls and all the trafficking, the sex trafficking, and you're like this clown here. Mm-hmm. Well, that means you stood outside the door while it happened. You're just as guilty. So here's the issue. If we do get somebody in this country that leads this country and we start going, and we find these people guilty, the people that stood by and let it happen and didn't put the names out, they get the same sentence.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to show you one more video. Then I want to go to your list that you sent me about the 3 things that Maha has done. And so let's go on ahead and see. This is Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett. He is talking about just Ghislaine Maxwell and how she pled the 5th. Let's take a listen.
I think her attorney's advising her, as her attorney should, she'll get clemency and she'll spill the beans. And I don't know. I don't see that happening. I see maybe she gets out early on good behavior and does a humongous book deal and probably ends up committing suicide by getting shot in the back of the head 5 times, because this thing goes very deep, and the people involved in it are very powerful.
Wow, that is that is sort of shocking to even hear that. But yeah, it was a pretty messed up group of people that were doing these things, and no telling.
Congresswoman, are you among the members who got to see the unredacted files today?
Yes, I saw some of them, not all of them, obviously. And I'll be going back tomorrow to see more.
Any reaction on what you've seen so far?
I think that there's folks who are definitely implicated and co-conspirators. And, I don't think everyone there that was talking about underage girls being trafficked are victims.
Got it. And do you support any clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell? She was saying that
I do not. Okay. I think Ghislaine Maxwell should get more time, and she should definitely be in a harsher prison than what she's in. It's absolutely disgusting.
Got it. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Monster.
And are you able to see the DOJ unredacted versions?
I'm going to be going tomorrow. There's I think every member of oversight has gone through so far, or is going to be going through so far. So yes.
And tomorrow will be your first time?
No, my second.
Okay. Is there anything you can share from what you saw today?
I've posted about it publicly, but some of the people that are in the most egregious redactions are claiming to be victims, and I don't think that they're victims if you're engaging in child sex trafficking.
Got it. Thank you, Congresswoman.
The Clintons are set to give their depositions.
And I'm still.
Go ahead.
I'm still one of those that believes Epstein didn't kill himself, ma'am. I just don't think he did.
Well, Clinton's coming in. They'll give their depositions, we think. Do you know if they're going to plead the Fifth? Have they hinted at anything?
No, ma'am, but there's a reason that they're not in prison, and the reason that he was in the White House for 2 terms and she was Secretary of State, because they are very slippery and they're very smart, and I think they're an evil pair. I think she's probably the brains behind the operation, but I don't think we'll get much on them. I know a lot of people are wanting us to get them, and it'll be great clickbait, I'm sure, but I think when it comes down to it, they'll either bail or they won't answer very many questions and be very evasive and be very smug, because in this world there are 2 forms of justice, those like the Clintons and for the rest of us. And unfortunately, I don't see them being, everybody says, we'll put them in handcuffs, all this stuff, all that's talk. The law's got to back you up on it. And we got to define what those laws were that they broke, and Congress cannot send somebody to jail. Oddly enough, a lot of congressmen probably should be in jail. But the truth is that we're not going to, I don't think it'll boil down to anything, and that's going to make a lot of people mad, but I believe that's the truth.
Just listening to you, I sense that you are deeply disappointed in the trajectory of this.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just deeply disappointed in Congress. We had a clear trajectory when President Trump was elected overwhelmingly, and Congress barely slipped in, and we have not followed the president's directions. And I feel like that will, in fact, if we do not regain the majority, it will be because of that. He ran on some pretty clear things: strong border, locking people up, and doing what's right. And we don't even codify his executive orders. We got to use trickery to do that, even in Congress when we have the majority. So yeah, I'm disappointed in Congress, not in this president, but in this Congress, because we've not followed his direction. And I think many times, we've had the opportunity and we've just gone on to endless hearings. And Chairman Comer is great about these hearings. He puts them together. They're well structured, and everyone's allowed to ask their questions, and nobody's told not to or anything else. But I just don't see overwhelming the will of the Congress to do a whole heck of a lot. I think they just want to ease along and just keep drawing that check.
Okay, so Steve, what do you think about what he was talking about?
Well, he said he wasn't disappointed in President Trump. Well, I'm disappointed in President Trump. And the fact of the matter is, it's supposedly, his name's mentioned in there thousands and thousands of times in the Epstein files. So, and let's face it, Michelle, I went to Washington, D.C. I'm the only person that was in Maha who actually wrote a plan for the president and for Bobby Kennedy and the USDA to change agriculture, the history of America. To implement 1 million new 40-acre farms, 10,000 new processing centers, and nothing happened. So I'm not just disappointed about that, but I'm way more disappointed about the Epstein files and about the way that the president, and let's face it, folks, supposedly our nation is supposed to be stronger and better, and we've got the House, we have the Senate, and we have the president, and we have RFK as the HHS, and we have, all the administration offices except for EPA looks like they should be on our side, the American people, and we should be thriving and striving as a country. And actually, we're going down the sewer hole.
Well, talking about that, how is HR 766 even on the table when you have this many Republicans that are supposed to be having the majority? You know what I mean? So, and you got a Republican president. So let's look at this. So you got the stop and online ammunition sales, and we've got an image of that. Producer Ron, if you've got it. But how is this even possible at this point? It's not like Democrats are in charge. What in the world is going on?
Well, this is something. So, Michelle, you know what I do is I try to pick strategic fights. I left Maha in December, and I just was in help the guys down there in Florida win. They did a big win this morning because we threw down hard on they were going to do away with free speech. You couldn't be able to speak against, pesticides or herbicides or big ag. And the lawsuit, you could have been sued. You would have had to pay for their attorney. We actually won that this morning, or I didn't win it. I helped them fight that. And that was a big win. And then I get this message. I got this message this morning. And I was like, well, this is the next big thing. So there's just, and there's things happening all across our nation. Oregon is talking about banning hunting and fishing. That's another big one. Indiana's got some big, huge things going on where cities will not be able to speak against data centers that go in and buy farmland. They won't be able to say that they can, they have no say over their own county or their city rules on these big data centers. So these are huge fights. This is probably the next one I'm fixing to jump into. And it's very important for people to understand this. Online ammunition sales are huge and there's only a few stores in America that carry all the ammunition that you need anyway. And this is huge. And then the Republican Party is the one doing this.
The Republican Party's doing it.
Yeah, they're doing
What's the reason?
Well, I mean, if you just watch what's happening across America, I mean, if you put in gag orders, which we defeated that in Florida this morning, but you're talking about all these data centers, and you're talking about if you see the new ring videos of the Super Bowl video. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I didn't watch halftime, but I have watched some of the clips that are very, very important. And you're talking about the Ring camera can find your dog in a few minutes. Yeah. Listen, this surveillance state's coming up. And if you can't buy ammunition, which you should already have a plenty stockpile, I'm sure. You boys out there in Tennessee, out there in your neck of the woods, I'm sure they already do. But it's very important about ammunition sales. And, this is, I believe it is a Democrat that's going to, that is bringing this up in New Jersey, but the Republican Party is they're going to go with this.
You think they're going to pass it, or they're going to at least give it a good try?
I believe they're going to give it a good try. Okay.
Well, we'll see what happens there. I saw a story that our local Nashville News was doing. It says right to grow. So listen to this one. This grabbed my attention. This was just less than a day ago, 17 hours ago. So reported last night. Tennessee lawmakers are advancing a resolution that would secure the right to grow food at home, a move supporters say would protect backyard gardening from future government restrictions. Can you believe that this is even a conversation?
Well, I'm going to give you some breaking news that's going to override that. So breaking news right before I came on the show, I got a message out of the USDA that the USDA wants you to register your garden. So folks, don't do that, okay? And because they want to get a database of how much food. Let me just tell you something. I don't like to use bad words, and I'm not going to on Michelle's show, but I really want to use one. And there's some choice words. I'd like to tell them what they can do with their garden collection.
And this is under Trump.
Under Trump. That's right. USDA. Brooke Mullins is pushing this out. And this is nonsense. Do not do this, folks. Do not register any of what you grow or store. Don't do this.
All right. While we're talking about foods, I saw something that I really don't think that my viewers understand to the extent that this is going on. And when I spoke with you about it, I realized I didn't know to the extent this is going on, but you know way more about it. And so I want everybody to get informed on this. So we have a video about vaccinated fish. Listen to this, and then let's get viewers up to snuff on this, and then we'll have you weigh in.
Let's look at vaccinations, arguably one of the most important advancements for farming livestock in the modern age, and the greatest leap forward in fish farming welfare since its mass adoption in recent decades. To start, most livestock in the UK are vaccinated. Fish are no exception to this, but they do present some unique challenges in doing so. These are Atlantic salmon smolts being vaccinated at their Scottish Inchmore facility, one of the country's most advanced freshwater facilities. They start with an anesthetizing bath to knock them out. No one wants fish flopping around for this sort of precision treatment. Once they're out, these juveniles head around to be orientated upright and forward. Yes, fish flippers are a real machine. Then every fish is imaged, and this massive automated vaccinator positions each fish in line with its injector. This will administer a cocktail of vital vaccines as quickly as possible. And between its 8 injectors, this machine can vaccinate up to 18,000 fish an hour. Throughout this, highly trained technicians are monitoring the entire process. By the way, this process used to be done by hand, and at many farms it still is, which takes vets and techs weeks. Now vaccinated and still a bit groggy, these fish head back to the hatchery's tanks to recover and return to a normal feeding schedule. So broadly speaking, why are salmon farmers vaccinating their fish? Bacterial and viral diseases aren't typically an issue in the hatchery itself. It's a biosecure facility with little environmental interaction. Where fish will run into these pathogens is at sea. Salmon are transferred from these freshwater hatcheries to seawater pens once they reach a certain size, the same way they migrate in the wild. Ocean pens are obviously very exposed to the environment around them, which includes bacterial and viral pathogens. By vaccinating fish against over a dozen common salmon diseases, these farmers can maintain a significantly higher standard of welfare by reducing the impact of infections when they do inevitably occur. Vaccinations are also to thank for salmon farming's almost complete removal of necessary antibiotics. With their mass adoption, antibiotic use has all but disappeared relative to years past as more fish get vaccinated and those vaccines get better. Just one of the many protective measures undertaken here in Scottish salmon farming by vets and biologists to improve their practices. And yes, vaccinating fish is safe for them and for you.
Steve.
Safe and effective.
Yeah. All right. So share what you were telling me before the show about these fish and what they're really doing.
Well, the issue is this has been going on a long time. And I'm just going to add something in here too that I think is very, very important. Most of the people in your show, I'm always talking about agriculture, but I'm one of the top Vizsla breeders in the United States. I've guided people from all over the world hunting and things like that. So I've been in there and I've been on the forefront of dog health. And let me just tell you these fish, this salmon that's vaccinated, especially in good dog foods like ProPlan used to be a really great dog food. But the problem is people have called me from all over the United States in the last 6 months with different dog foods and different things. And the main ingredient that I find that is causing these problems with your dogs is this salmon. And it's injected. Some of these fish are vaccinated up to 16 different vaccines. And so if you look what's going on with the food and the system like that, the dogs is the quickest way to find out what is really going on with food, because this salmon is causing major problems. And pork is vaccinated too. mRNA vaccines are done in all your pork, and they're also going to use vaccines in your vegetables. And I'm going to say this here on the show, but what you have to do is you have to understand too, is that the rabies vaccine in your dogs has been changed to mRNA. Okay.
Yeah. My people know. We talk about it here on the show, and we when it got passed, we talked about it then, and we keep talking about it. But Steve, you're right. And thank you for reminding everybody, it's just like with ourselves to stay away from the doctors. We got to keep our fur babies away from the doctors, in my opinion. So it's insane. But when you say 16 vaccines, up to 16 vaccines that a fish receives, that's insanity. That is insanity. Now, I don't buy anything farm raised anyways like that. I buy fresh, but a lot of people don't know to do that, and I'm not 100% certain in a lot of instances that even the fresh is all that clean. You don't know what they're doing. It's like the organic, where somebody can raise something organic and then it gets put into a big building and they spray all of it. And so you don't know what they're calling organic and if it's truly genuinely clean or not. My definition, or why I continue to buy organic, is that I just hope it has less crap in it than what they're putting all over everything else. But who's to say, And so anyways, so we wanted to show about the vaccinated fish. And then I saw this nutritionist talking about Chick-Fil-A. Let's take a look at what they're putting in the Chick-Fil-A. Now, many people know this, but listen to him from a nutritional standpoint, from a nutritionist.
This is why I never eat at Chick-Fil-A. I ordered a spicy chicken deluxe, and a small mac and cheese. There's really not much to this. Combined with both of these food items, they contain over 265 ingredients. No two foods should contain that many ingredients. What are the ingredients in here? I've never even heard of. It's called dimethylpolysiloxane. This is a food additive that is used as an anti-foaming agent from silicone. It's also found in industrial lubrication and cosmetics. There's also dough conditioners here, obviously in the bun, like datum and monodiglycerides, which come through oil processing using soy oil, hydrogenated oil, which are trans fats. These, of course, are all pro-inflammatory agents. This is not going to sit well on your digestive system.
It's disgusting.
Well, Michelle, what I've been trying to really encourage people to grow their own food, or at least find people to grow their own food. This is so important for our nation, even on a national security issue, or even for your family security. But food is fake. I just made a video. Everybody can go at Idlewild 3D. That's my Instagram channel. You'll see on there. I made a video where my wife bought. At Costco, bought a big cauliflower head, and it had been sitting in the refrigerator for 2 weeks. It hadn't changed. I told my wife it wasn't real, so I got my cutting torch out and put it on it, and it didn't. It doesn't burn. I mean, it burns a little bit.
We'll get Ron to pull it real quick, and we'll show it in a minute. Okay, I got something that grabbed my attention here on YouTube. It says my dog's vet won't help my baby because I wouldn't get the rabies shot. Okay, it's a shot. It's not a vaccine. This is insanity. These people. So this is what brings me back to, we were talking about your list of the 3 things that MAHA has done. And you said number 2 on your list, the first one was the food pyramid got flipped. Number 2 is part of the childhood vaccines are not now mandatory. And I said, I don't count that as a win. And so we were talking about that before the show. And so, for me, I have a problem with this. In fact, I tweeted about it back when, everybody's acting like it's such a big deal. And I've come to believe that I think there are what I'm going to call hypers that are, I don't know, maybe paid to hype up an agenda on social media. And so I see this all the time right now. And so the littlest thing gets hyped up to be like, wow, we are conquering the world when it's nothing. So you're talking about part of the childhood vaccine not being mandatory, and people are acting like we've just won World War III and, really put a man on the moon. And so it's insanity, in my opinion. Like, why are they even? So what we've done is put the wolves in charge of the sheep, which are the doctors and the nurses, and they're the ones that are going to educate and help to, help people, moms and dads that are looking to the doctors and nurses and rely on them and see them as up here with, credibility, and they know, and trusting them to help guide them into the right thing that they're supposed to do. And guess what? They're still allowed to give these shots out. So it's complete crap, if you ask me. And so to me, 3 things Amaha did, number 2 being part of childhood vaccines not being mandatory, I think it's insanity that it's even on the market at this point.
I totally agree. And that's one of the reasons I left MAHA, because they're not serious. And they do have, and maybe those people are paid in the MAHA, the group, the coalition I was a part of. Maybe these guys are paid behind the scenes and I didn't know it, because they jump up and down and, oh my gosh. And I say, wait, time out. You call that a win? A win would be the vaccines not being in the doctor's office. That's the win.
Yeah. It being illegal.
Yeah, make it illegal. Get rid of the vaccines.
I mean, stop making them. And so it's not a win. It is not a win. And the food pyramid being flipped, I don't even know if most people even know it got flipped.
Well, you don't have to. It's very odd to me that people don't know how to eat healthy. Okay. And Bobby Kennedy's parading around right now, eat real food. When lab grown food, and you just had to play the video with Chick-Fil-A has 265 ingredients in the little tiny meal there. I mean, and if you think, and this is the problem. I said this last time on your show, big corporations, big food corporations tell our government what to do. Our government is not in charge. They're number 6 on the list, and big foods tell them what to do. And all these food dyes and all these things are going to get changed, which that's number 3 on the list, is the food dyes are going to get removed, but people don't realize that they're going to grow these in cultured environments and they may use yeast and different things like that. They're not, or they're going to use genetically modified beets, sprayed with Roundup, and they're going to crush them. And that's going to be your food coloring on your Skittles. Come on, folks. It's not a win.
Okay. So you said the 3 things that Maha did is, number 1, they had the food pyramid flipped, which you told us a month and a half before that it was coming. And you had the inside scoop on that. The second thing was part of the childhood vaccines not being mandatory. And then the third thing, which I know is a stretch. And then number 3 is petroleum-based food dyes will be gone by the fall of 2027. Okay. So, those are things that you've cited like, hey, this is good. It's good. We're giving them something. And then you say, you went on to say, so 63 farms and ranches or dairies have disappeared each day, and it will be more in 2026. Is this mainly because of the whole thing with the banking and how a lot of farmers are not getting the loans? I think there's probably a lot of rules and regulations that have also happened that keeps farmers and ranchers and dairies from being profitable as well. I listened to a lady who has this chicken farm, and that was horrific, to say the very least, to hear all the different things and the way that intimidation happens, control happens. And so controlling the way that they house the chickens, the way that they're taken care of or lack thereof, what they're fed, what the farmer says publicly versus what they don't say. And so we're fed a line of crap, and the farmers that know the truth stay quiet because they know that if they speak up, that their livelihood would be completely in the tank overnight.
Yes, and let me just say this too. They talk about all whole milk, but whole milk is still pasteurized with synthetic vitamin D put to it. It's not a big win. They should do raw milk, but the raw milk is really, really good for your children and things like that. And there's all these propaganda videos out there. Listen, I drank raw milk my entire childhood growing up, straight out of the tank. It never went through a screener, and we used to drain it out of there in a jug, and that's what we drank our entire life. And I know that people might argue and say that there is stuff mentally wrong with me, but it wasn't raw milk.
You're crazy. Okay, I'm double checking something. So the other day, yes. So if you go to michellemooreshow.com, okay, michellemooreshow.com, the second black rectangle that's on there on the link tree is a raw milk finder. You can put in your zip code and you can check and see where you can get raw milk in your area. It's a great map. It's great, very interactive. The first black rectangle is the Jeffrey Epstein emails. Don't know if you know about that, where a guy put it into Gmail, and he's got a whole thing where you can now read and literally go through all the emails. It's crazy. And so both of those are on there for you. On michellemooreshow.com. Great resources. Further down, I think we have the Find a Spring. You can put in your zip code and you can find a spring near you to be able to get spring water that's coming up out of the ground. So that's another website as well. Okay, I saw this video on the saturated fat. I think you sent it to me, Steve. And I have to say, this is so well done. And it's just crazy. But it's just, in the long list of things that are crazy in our lives, right? And so let's take a look. What do you think you know about saturated fat versus what maybe the truth would be, and who did what and when? And so this is going to give you a little bit of a history lesson.
Okay, it's 1955. The President of the United States, the same general who helped win World War II, has a heart attack. He lives, but the country freaks out. Everyone wants to know how and why a seemingly fit and healthy war hero could be at death's door. One doctor, a guy named Ansel Keys, decides that it's saturated fat. His evidence? The 7-country study. Specifically, this chart. Looks pretty clear, right? Saturated fat goes up, heart disease mortality goes up too. Except this is how the chart actually looked. The dude erased the countries that disproved his theory. No shit. Once he had his pet theory, he couldn't let facts get in the way, and it worked for him. The American Heart Association gets on board, and the AHA and Keys start promoting this theory. It makes them both famous. Keys ends up on the cover of Time magazine. Just 2 do-gooders trying to save lives. Except the AHA at this point had been given massive funding by Procter & Gamble, the makers of Crisco. And if animal fat could be deemed bad, people would buy more Crisco, and Mr. P and Mr. G would get richer, which is exactly what happened. By the time someone shone light on the real study a few years later, everyone was already believing this BS orthodoxy that fat was bad. And it turns out it was all just the ego and dishonesty of a corrupt doctor supported by a corporate-friendly medical association. Oh, and by the way, want to know why Ike had that heart attack? Maybe it's because he smoked 4 packs of unfiltered Camels every single day. Seriously. But I'm not a doctor, so what do I know?
Steve.
Well, if you keep watching all this and reading the Jeffrey Epstein, you're going to be smoking 4 packs a day because you got to relieve the stress off what's going on. But listen, the thing is, most people, the rumor is that actually was invented as a submarine oil because that way the men inside the submarines wouldn't have to smell like, burnt motor oil, and that's what originally it was designed for. And then they started making it. Look, folks, go back to your yearbooks. Look at everybody pre-1970.
That's right.
Just go look at everybody. Look at it and look at everybody now. Listen, the food pyramid, the stuff they've put in the foods, the Crisco and all that stuff, and the Cisco foods that go in the public schools, it's all junk. You have to get, and I don't know why, Michelle, I am not getting traction. I am not gaining much traction on my online farm school. I just dropped it to $500. It teaches you everything: when to plant, how to grow, how to butcher, how to can, how to render, your own lard, your tallow, make all that. It shows all that. And people are just, I don't know. They're just zombified. I don't know. But if you don't grow your own food, that's the only way you're going to know if food is real, is if you grow it or the guy that's growing it yourself.
I tell you what, if I was still homeschooling children, I would buy your plan. And that would be a semester or a whole year, hands-on, growing food, doing the whole thing. I would be teaching your farm plan as their curriculum. It'd be farming 101. That's what I call it.
And here's what I say to people. Ladies, if you've got a couple of, say, 4 or 5 ladies there, say 5 families, and you could buy one of my farm school, and you can do it for all 5. Now, I don't want you to print it all off and mass produce my videos and share them with 5,000 people because I need to make a living. But but you could do this, and your kids need to know how in these old ways. I'm the last farmer. I'm the only farmer in America that writes his own moon phase counter and uses the 13 signs of the moon phase, the cycles of the moon, and uses the 13 signs of the zodiac. And I put those all together like our great-great-grandfathers did. It is your green thumb. Anybody can grow food if they follow my farm school. Anybody.
How did you end up realizing that the whole zodiac thing was actually, I mean, obviously it's got, everything is corrupted by Satan. He doesn't create anything new. But how did you end up realizing, like, yes, this is actually something we need to pay attention to? It's just not the corrupted side of it.
Well, it's very difficult. Now, I was involved 11 years in jail and prison and street ministry, and I was involved in a lot of helping people come out of satanic ritual abuse and things like that. Well, what the issue is what I realized this was done by the Rothschilds and those early on in our nation. They wanted to use it for necromancy, reading your horoscope, doing things like that. But one day it just kind of hit me. But I've been using this all my life on doctoring animals, pruning trees, growing grass, even helping my wife's hair grow. That I realize that these things are true. They do work. I don't do a seance or any hocus pocus when I use this stuff on my animals. I just do by what the cycles of the moon are. And I said, well, time out here. How is it that these signs that are in the heavens have anything to do with the devil? And that's when I realized that it was robbed, and it was robbed on purpose so that people would fail, because what it is the 13 moon cycles and these things. This is called order. There is an order to creation. There's an order to scripture. And when you're out of order, that's why Mother Nature thumps on you so hard. When you're out of order in farming, Mother Nature doesn't care, because Mother Nature has an order, and that's what they have to follow.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So yesterday I had said that I had something that I really had been avoiding talking about, but I really feel like today is the day. And I wanted to talk about it with you. And so I have not spoken with Steve, for those that are watching, ahead of time about this, but I just had something bothering me for quite a while now. I read, I forget the name of the book, the Spring Spritzmeyer guy that does all the satanic and bloodline stuff, that in fact, they're amazing books. I've got to get the book. And I was looking to see I think it's sitting on my nightstand. But anyways, Fritz Springmeier. And so I don't know if you're familiar with his books, but he has really gone down the rabbit hole and done a whole thing on these different bloodlines. And a lot of people don't realize there is the upper house and a lower house. So there's not just 13 bloodlines. There's 13 bloodlines in the lower house. And those are the ones that we hear about all the time. So that's the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, the Kennedys. Onassis is a bloodline. So Jackie O marries 2 different men from the 13 bloodlines. How is that? I mean, what are the odds of that? And so, okay, so we're talking about the Kennedys. And so, early last week, I said I was disgusted because there was a press conference going on. And Caroline, the lady who's the press secretary, gets asked by one of the media people, which of the halftime shows is President Trump planning to watch? And I was so disgusted with that because they're talking about a halftime show, knowing what we know about our fellow Americans and those that need help in one area or another. We've got veterans sleeping on the streets. We've got women and men, our elderly, that are living on $1,100 a month, if they're lucky, paying rent. I have viewers that have never owned a home. I mean, I had no idea prior to doing this show. 3.5 years ago, I was completely clueless about this. And so about how little so many of Americans are actually living on. And so we have all these issues. We have all this going on with the Epstein list, and they're talking about a football game. And it made me so angry. In fact, we've got a picture, producer Ron. This is what I look. No, not that one. The Mel Gibson one. This is what I look like right there when society is collapsing and dude is trying to talk to me about sports. Yeah, that's it. That was the look on my face. All right. So as everybody knows, the Turning Point USA halftime show was done by Kid Rock. Let's take a look. I immediately recognize the floor. And I'm like, I mean, I already knew something's amiss. Well, this is a Lynn Wood post from last night. And so I snagged it. I immediately recognized the RFK Jr. and Kid Rock photo because I had seen it earlier in the week and saw the floor. But then now he's put it with this Bad Bunny guy and that did the other halftime show, apparently. Now, I have never heard this guy. My kids were telling me about him and said that everything he sings, it's in Spanish, but yet he's an American. So I don't really know. So I didn't watch anything to do with anything on Sunday. So with all of this, and I'm like you on social media, I've seen a video or two, but I have since saw the video you sent me as well, where it's Kid Rock joking about waiting for the Olsen twins to turn 18, like all of the other American men. And it just was very inappropriate and a low class at least. And so this is symbolism. This is the whole balance, the whole Freemasonry stuff, the good and the evil. It's a show. And this is supposedly at Kid Rock's home. It reminds me of Ted Turner because apparently Ted Turner's foyer is a black and white checkerboard as well. I just happen to know these things. And so it reminded me of Ted Turner's home. There's just numerous things. And so, but RFK Jr. RFK Jr. So, and RFK Jr. connects to Flynn. And that's a problem for me, a big problem for me. And so what is he really accomplishing? Like we were looking at with the food pyramid being flipped. Well, are the school books changed? Are people, how many people even know about that? And then like the part of the childhood vaccines not being mandatory, part of them, not even all of them. Why would any of them be mandatory? And so I can see why you quit. And I think it was a great choice, a great decision, because I think it's a bunch of nothing.
It is a bunch of nothing. I mean, let's face it. Our nation, more and more every day, is dissolving. And Trump talks about how the economy is good. Listen, I have three younger. I mean, my kids are 24, 27, and 30, and they all work for a living, and it is very expensive. They all have their own houses and things like that. But it's very, very hard to buy a house, much less buy a farm and try to start farming. Our nation is collapsing. Whether people, I hate to say it that way, but if you don't grow your own food and get in with people that do, there's a problem. And this is what upset me, and this is why I left. How is it that RFK comes to my farm, and then I even hand him the Mystic bill to stop weather modification in 50 states. I shared with him exactly what I wanted him to do in the role, and nothing happens. He talks about all these eat real food when they've increased the spraying over the top of us. Our aluminum content is higher and higher, and the food has got everything you can think of in it, and we're getting more and more pesticides added to the food crops anyway. But I don't use those things, but I can't control the weather modification, and this is the issue that your senators and representatives should do. There's 33 states doing the weather modification, but the bills aren't strong enough. It's the same thing. It's like the Epstein files and the weather modification bills are about the same, have the same power. They don't do anything. They're poisoning, killing, raping, stealing, everything. And my understanding is President Trump has sued the federal government for $10 billion. And think about this. Our president is suing our government. Well, the $10 billion is going to be your taxpayer money. So he's going to become one of the more and more wealthier persons. And then he set himself up to be the richest in crypto. So it doesn't look like to me he's doing anything for the nation. It looks like to me he's doing for himself. But the Epstein files are not going to be let go. And I don't believe anybody's going to let them go. And this thing's going to burn itself down one way or another.
All right. So I saw another video, we're talking about like even with the economy and everything under Trump, right? So this was very interesting. Somebody goes to the bank, wants to withdraw some money. Let's take a look at what happened. So this is somebody wanting some of their own money out of their account at the bank.
So yeah, $3,500 is going to be the most I can do today.
Right. I thought that's what
I was
we were
trying to
doing.
see if we could do the one-time passcode, then I could get you more.
Okay.
But because it's not working,
Okay.
then we just can't. So
Okay.
she'll go ahead and we'll have you swipe your debit card, and then she'll continue to give you your cash.
Okay. And then I just have a question. Like, when I do a money order at another bank and go in there, has there been like anything you guys have like done to my account, or is there going to be like a whole hassle with them?
To get a money order?
Yeah,
No.
like, and to get money out now, there's nothing you guys have like put on my account.
No, there's
just
no-
because the demeanor in here seems like so odd.
Yeah.
That now I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
Like the demeanor from you guys like shifted, and it feels very weird.
No,
And
it's-
the accusing of doing something illegal was like very odd.
Well, it wasn't accusing, it was questioning.
Well, you
So-
told me that it's illegal, and
Counting cards is illegal.
have you
Absolutely.
looked into that? I'd love if you could show me what.
I'm sure you go to a casino and count cards, tell them you're going to count cards, they're not going to accept you as a customer.
And you want to,
Yeah, and you're not going to get arrested though because it's not illegal.
you want to take it out of your savings, right?
Yes,
There's nothing on your account that's going to stop you from going to another bank.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't doing anything
But I
like
just-
that.
yeah,
Because your demeanor is like so unprofessional. It's
Yeah.
just weird.
Again, you're going to run into this issue with the phone number. So
Right, I'm sure.
it's going to be an issue going forward. So just want you to be aware of that. So,
Thank you. Very helpful.
29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35.
Thank you.
And our next apologize for the manager's behavior. She's kind of sorry.
I like you. Really cool.
Okay. What is it she was retrieving money for?
She was going to go to the casino, but this has actually happened to me as well. And I have at least 10 friends that's the same thing. So
Yeah, I
let's
do
just
too.
say that you have a check that you for $40,000. Let's say you deposit that on Monday. Well, let's say Friday you go to the bank and say, "Hey, I want to withdraw 10 grand out of my account." Now this is, the check was good. It went through. Somebody paid you $40K, went in your bank account. You go to pull $10K out. They start asking you what you're going to do with the money.
They sure do.
I said, well, what does it matter? Why is it any of your business? And the reason is I hate to tell y'all this, folks, but America doesn't have cash. America is broke because the elite in this country and the Federal Reserve has stolen our money, and they taxed us to death, and they printed the money, and now we're 40 trillion or fixing to hit 40 trillion in debt, and cash is going to be worthless. And they're trying to drive this to a digital currency. When that happens, well, guess what? If they don't like you, you won't participate.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. This is not new. And so I know at least a couple of people that this has happened with, where they were questioned, just like this lady, why do you want the money? And it wasn't even 10,000. And so I know about this happening about a year and a half ago. And so, and they want to know, and they're asking questions like, nobody's business. It's my money. I'll take it out when I want to. Now, it's not happened to me, but I have somebody close to me that it did happen. And like I said, it wasn't even $10,000. It was a few $1,000s, and they were being questioned about it. And it was questioning like this: what are you going to be doing with it? It's like, who says it's any of your business? Like, how brazen, how bold can you be? I want to go back to the Trump thing. Okay. I want to go back. I know we're covering a lot of things, and it's hard to do.
Let me say one more thing about this money that people need to really, really understand. And I know that you're big on silver, and you got one of the best guys that come on your show. But Larry Fink on Wednesday said that we need to tokenize gold and silver. Okay. And what that means is, folks, if they tokenize gold and silver, that means that you're going to have to turn your gold and silver in, and then you can only spend it. It's kind of like you're going to go to Six Flags. You know how it works at Six Flags? You bring your cash, you put your cash in the deal, and you get a little fake coin that says Six Flags. That's the way it's going to work. And this is something that's happening in the money world as well that people are not paying attention to.
And isn't that they're trying to do it with land? You were telling me about farms and land. Tell about that.
Yeah, that's what well, I can't talk a lot about it because I've kind of sworn to secrecy, but that's what they're going to do. I will be able to talk about this in the next 90 days. But the thing about it is, on this tokenization of soil, this is dangerous, folks. It's dangerous.
All right. So when we talk about the tokenization of soil, and I know you're sworn to secrecy, but and I didn't know that, so I brought it up. But here's my question on it. Can you answer this? Is this avoidable? Or powers that be are going to make this happen no matter what?
Well, the powers that be, when they start tokenizing soil, water, food, tokenize, your dog, they tokenize gold, silver. They're going to try to tokenize everything. I mean, everything, your air. They're going to tokenize the air, and they'll tokenize and put, carbon tax on it and all that. Well, that's just driving to this surveillance state and this digital. Why do you think that Trump is pushing Palantir and Peter Thiel and all those guys are pushing these data centers going in all over the United States? He wants to lead the world, with AI. Well, I don't want to lead the world with AI. And if you make a strong nation with food and your honesty, then you don't have to have all this AI, but that's where it is. It looks like to me Trump is just pushing the data system, and he's bringing in the data system, the digital ID and all that faster than anybody would have ever thought.
When you're talking about tokenization, it also makes me, I want to make sure people understand, I believe it's about, when you say digital or it's all of that, it has to do with control ultimately.
Ultimately, yes.
And so you're talking about going China, full-blown China. So if you put a post on social media and somebody gets upset about it, guess what? The police can literally show up at your home and take you to jail. Okay. And so this goes on in Australia and in other countries who have given up their guns, by the way. And so I watched during the whole slowing of the spread, I watched a pregnant woman have police show up at her apartment. She was living in an apartment and very pregnant in Australia. And they toted her hind end to jail.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because of a social media post.
Yeah. And the question is, Michelle, wouldn't we like to ask all the sheriffs and all the marshals and the deputies across our country, which that's probably the largest force of, protection that we should have. What do they say? Are they with us as the American people as this stuff goes down? Or are they going to be replaced by a little small country the size of New Jersey? Are they going to be sending people over here that are going to replace them as officers? And my understanding too, I'll tell you what the big thing that's happening in Indiana. They're talking about making the National Guard a police force unit. That was the big thing. There's so much happening in America, folks, and I try to just pick out the things that are most important. But when you're going to take part of your National Guard and make it a police force so your governor can use it, I'm sorry. This is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, this is all happening while President Trump is president of our country, which seems very confusing. Now, look, I want to go back to that as well. But first, Cousin77 says, I closed an account at Chase Bank last week, and I had like almost $800 in there, and they were going to mail me a check. And I said, nope, I want it now. And they gave it to me, but it was weird. Yeah, $800, and they're going to mail you. That is weird. Mail you a check. That's crazy. Okay, that is crazy, Cousin Dave. Oh my word. Mitzi says, thank you, Mitzi, for the pronunciation. I was like, okay. Mitzi says, yes, it happened to me personally. I insisted for 2 days. They had an official call me and tell me that he would have to report me and flag me for the account if I wanted. Yeah. Flag me. Okay, so you've been flagged. Like, who cares who's going to call you? This is insane. When I withdrew my money, when I withdraw my money, they always ask what I need it for. That's crazy. Okay, that's crazy.
It's called conditioning, folks. And let me explain how this works, okay? This is very important to understand this. So you moved to town, you've been living in the country all your life, but you need to be conditioned. But you moved by a railroad track. So the first night the train comes by, you hit the ceiling when the horn and the tracks go by. Yep. But after about 2 years, that train going by, you're sleeping like a baby. And that's what this conditioning is doing. Everybody gets asked. Everybody gets told, oh, you can't take that much money out. What are you going to do with it? It's conditioning you to accept their tyrannical way of doing it. And this is coming down from the Federal Reserve.
We see it in many different ways, by the way. Many. If you'll just pay attention, because what they want to do is by the time the crap hits the fan, you're already used to the idea. It doesn't take much time, and you will get used to it. And most people will go along to get along. Most people will go along because of the fluoride. Most people will go along because they don't want to call. They've been told to be polite or, whatever, respect authority when it comes to all things. And so, but the fact of the matter is we have God-given rights. During the whole slowing of the spread, I heard the Holy Spirit say, where in my word does it say to go along to get along? And I said, nowhere, God. And he said, exactly. And a week later, I found myself hesitating and thinking, well, maybe I'm not picking my battles. Maybe I should wear a mask. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I shouldn't, be so, against all this, because I never put a mask on. I never had any of the shots. Neither did my children. We didn't go there. And I just would say to my children, we are not participating in this insanity. And so that was the way I said it. And when we went grocery shopping and, employees are at the door trying to hand me a mask, I just say, no, thank you. And I kept walking and, no, what are they going to do? So I just keep walking, go do my grocery shopping. And so people left me alone. But again, I've took that as the Holy Spirit was showing me, hold the line. Where in my word does it say to go along to get along? I have a God-given right to be able to breathe unrestricted. It's that simple.
And let me just say this too. I wish everybody would have done like you and I, because our nation would be very different today. If they would have done, listen, I'd ordered 2 dogs in from Poland, 2 young 10-week-old puppies, visa male puppies. And just so happened they were flown with a nanny into Seattle airport in the first week of the social distancing. So I told my wife, I said, well, I'm going to get my dogs. And I said, I'm not putting a mask on. She goes, oh God, he's going to be arrested. I tell you what I did. I walked straight into the airport. Everybody is masked. People's got gloves on. And it's the first time in history people are starting to walk 6 foot away from each other. I walked straight in by 5 check stations, went in there and got my dogs, didn't put a mask on. I think that they thought I had the bubonic plague. That's why I wasn't being arrested or nobody was. It was like the Red Sea was parting. I was like, this is going to be easy. I just walked straight in, got my dogs, walked straight out. But it's amazing that everybody obeyed this and it wasn't even a crime. Y'all realize this? That everything you do today and nobody is holding a gun to your head to do about 99%. Yeah, do you have to stop at a stoplight? Yeah, yes, you do. But you could run it if you want to. But I'm just saying that there's not all this stuff is policy, and you can say no.
All right, let's take a look. I saw this video on critical thinking. It's so good. It's from Seinfeld. Let's take a look.
Cosmo Kramer.
Okay, you're checked in?
Yeah, thank you.
Here's your AIDS ribbon.
No, thanks.
You don't want to wear an AIDS ribbon?
No.
But you have to wear an AIDS ribbon.
I have to?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't want to.
But everyone wears the ribbon. You must wear the ribbon.
What you are? You're a ribbon bully.
Hey, you, come back here. Come back here and put this on.
Hey, where's your ribbon? Oh, I don't wear the ribbon.
You don't wear the ribbon? Aren't you against AIDS?
Yeah, I'm against AIDS. I mean, I'm walking, aren't I? Just don't wear the ribbon.
Who do you think you are?
Put the ribbon on.
Hey, Cedric, Bob, this guy won't wear a ribbon.
Who? Who doesn't want to wear the ribbon? So, what's it going to be? Are you going to wear the ribbon? No, never. But I'm wearing the ribbon. He's wearing the ribbon. We are all wearing the ribbon. So why aren't you going to wear the ribbon?
This is America. I don't have to wear anything I don't want to wear.
What are we going to do with him? I guess we're just going to have to teach him to wear the ribbon.
It's so true.
It's so true. And let me give you the thing about what's really important in America. You need to have a real good conversation with the creator of the universe every day, read your Bible and pray. I'm going to say you start out the day with that, because if you don't do that, you're going to go insane. The next part about that, the most important metal you can have is lead, and it needs to be in a certain form, and it needs to have powder behind it. And you have that because that is number one, because it doesn't matter whether it goes digital or goes tokenized or whatever. You can always take silver if you need it. If you have plenty of lead, you need really good food, and you need real food, and you need water and shelter, and you need some good friends.
There you go. Christ Believer says there's a limit of $500 at her bank that you can take out of your account.
Whoa.
$500. You can't even go to the grocery store with $500.
Nothing.
I think I'd find a different bank, Christ Believer. Okay, Jackie says, I didn't wear a mask and some stores wouldn't let you in without one. I just went to another store. Exactly. I was the only one at a Home Goods with my son. We were the only two without it. And we got so many feet into the store and I heard, ma'am, and I knew they were talking to me, ma'am. And then my son goes, mama. And then I knew I had to stop. And by then the guy, very, very feminine guy, by the way, is screaming, ma'am. And so by then everybody has stopped. And of course, staring at me, everybody, has masks on. This is the beginning of December. So of that year. So we had been out for lunch I'd taken my son out to lunch. And so I had said, I need to run over to Home Goods for a second. So anyways, and the guy starts waving a face mask and I go, oh no, thank you. And his jaw dropped and couldn't believe that we weren't going to wear a mask. Could not believe it. And so it is insane, but yeah. Okay. So in the message that you sent to me, I want to talk about Trump for a second.
Okay.
So look, I believe that it's absolutely been proven that Donald Trump had I think I was even reading the other day that Epstein even thought that Donald Trump flipped on him and was a lot of what triggered Epstein getting investigated the first time down in Florida. And so I don't know what's going on with all of that, but I have a hard time believing it. I have talked with many trafficking survivors and not a single, and a lot of them tell me a lot of things. that either they haven't been able to go public for one reason or another, or a lot of times people will talk and tell you more than what they will say publicly. They'll say privately, you know that. And so, I'm sure with the many people that you speak with. And so, but I can tell you, Steve, that I have had it over and over and over that these trafficking survivors have said they never saw Donald Trump. They never were abused by Donald Trump. In fact, I've had stories told to me where he tried to get different people help, different women. They were always women, different women help to get out of whatever terrible situations they were in. And so the real Donald Trump versus whatever else is going on here, I just find it hard to believe. When we look at some of these other things, there's proof and stories about how he did genuinely help and was the one person, the guy that had came forward that was running the investigation said, Donald Trump, when he got the letter in the mail, we sent out numerous letters. When he received his, he was the only one that called and actually offered to help and give us information. So that's all I know, and it makes sense to me. So I don't know. We'll see. I think if they had the goods on Donald Trump, we would have seen it a whole long time ago, many years ago. And then when you look at these women who have come forward claiming whatever that, like that Jean Carroll, well, she was bankrolled by somebody who was out to get him, who is wealthy and is a Democrat and part of it's not even a Democrat thing. It's an evil deep state, nasty Epstein related stuff. So it's good versus evil. And so I just look at that too, and we'll see. I think time will tell, maybe. I don't know if this side of heaven will ever really know the truth about a lot of things, but I have a hard time with some of this and believing that the real Donald Trump is in on it.
Well, here's the thing. Let's say he didn't do it, but if you look at what he has done in documents towards Pam Bondi, who is the one that should be arresting these people, he's telling her to move along in writing, don't do it. And when I don't care who it is. I go by what the facts are. And I'm just saying, if you weren't involved in it, but you protected the people, or you say move along. And Pam Bondi, why did Pam Bondi come out with a statement just a few days ago saying that if everybody in the Epstein files is prosecuted, that it's a national security? What that tells you is that it's most of the people in our government, and this is going to be bad. It's going to be a very tough time, because our adversaries across the pond are not going to sit idle if our government fails.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's a national security issue for sure. So you say no new processing plants. We've been talking about that as well. So first you wrote and you said, well, there's been 63 farms and ranches or dairies that have disappeared each day, and it will be more in 2026. You said there's no new processing plants. We talked about that in great detail recently, the last time you were on, and the last few times you have educated us on that as well. 700, and I've got personal friends who have a cattle farm, and they've explained that to me about how hard it is to be able to get like a meat processing appointments. And they're like scheduled out a year at a time. And so it's a big deal because, and a lot of it has to do with how scarce these processing plants are. So even in Tennessee, I'm very aware of that happening here as well. You say $700 million supposedly going to regenerative farming has still not been allocated yet. This is the money that we talked about months ago now. It's been a few months. They made a big deal about it in the media, President Trump and RFK Jr., and you're saying this money has still not been released.
Neither has the 12 billion. The 12 billion or the 700 million has not been put into play.
Okay. And were both of those things for, when you say it's for regenerative farming on the 700 million and the 12 billion, what that's going to the farmers?
Well, the 12 billion was going to go to basically, corn, soy, cotton, rice, those type of crops. That's what the 12 billion was going to. The 700 million was going to go to regenerative farming, which it's a total joke, because then it's so expensive to farm now anyway. And if you divide up how many, all of it, it's a joke, and the money's still not allocated for it. And they jump up and down. It's a joke. They do all this parading around with milk mustaches and say they've done all this stuff. And really and truthfully, your house is on fire and you're trying to sell a glass of milk.
Okay. This is where I have an issue. Lab-grown food and GMO crops are not banned from the food pyramid, only under consideration. What does that mean, only under consideration?
It means that what the issue is that the people in Maha fought to get lab-grown put under this, and Bobby Kennedy wanted this himself. He wanted lab-grown products to be out, and he deemed them as highly processed, which is true. But they're not regulated completely out. Does that make sense? They're under consideration, that they may consider to use them, and they'll see how much pushback or whatever. But when you're losing 63 farms and ranches a day, the only thing is going to be left is lab grown.
Sure. I think it's absolutely disgusting and completely against God. God gave us the animals. God gave us the fruits and the vegetables. God gave us all of this. And to me, it is another thing that is completely against what we have been given here on the earth to take care of. And to what's biblical. But you talk about being out of order. I think it's part of order, and it's being out of order. Anything that God is for, they are against.
Well, this will be the first spring that an mRNA spray will be introduced to potato crops. This will be the first spring ever. And basically how this spray works is when you plant your potato, then it gets grown a little bit. You put this chemical, this spray, this mRNA, and what it does is it penetrates through the plant down in the potato, and then no insect will touch it. It literally it changes the genetics where an insect will not eat it. So, folks, potatoes are going to change big time this spring.
Food dyes can be genetically cultured in a lab. See, that's the other thing too, is we hear, orange dye number, whatever, blue dye number, whatever. But here's the thing. A lot of times that's what we know these dyes as. And what do? They rename them. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that going on as well. So, or they come up with something else that's just as bad. So red number 40 is the number one, and beets would be used for that. But there is 17 million pounds of food dyes used every year now. There is not enough beets grown to do this. So you get GMO glyphosate sprayed red food coloring.
Well, they're going to have somebody grow these beets, or they're going to grow it in a yeast form in a culture. So it won't even come. It'll come from a culture of a beet, and they'll do it. I don't know how they do all that lab grown stuff, but we don't grow enough beets. There's two types of beet families. You have the sugar beet world, where they grow to make sugar out of and cattle feed. And then you have the table beet. The table beet is the ones you see in the grocery store that are pretty. And there's a lot of different color varieties of those. And that's what we're talking about. If you look at how much, there's just not enough table beets grown. What are you going to do? Squeeze all those? And that's where you're going to get the food coloring from? No, they're not going to do that.
No strong regulatory on food dyes or lab grown. So do we believe they will tell you the truth? No. mRNA vaccines in food, aluminum and many other metals are sprayed from our skies, which is more now. Data centers get a free ride on water and destroying the farm ground. And then farmland still controlled by foreign countries. Whole milk is pasteurized and synthetic vitamin D that's added. HHS and USDA and the EPA are all play good cop, bad cop. Tell us about what you were telling me today about Lee Zeldin. What did he do?
Well, here's how good cop, bad cop works. Okay. So good cop, bad cop is you're really both on the same side, and you really want the same thing to happen at the end. But you have one on one side that says, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Then on the other side, this is so good. And so the good guy says, we're going to get rid of fluoride. And then the bad guy, Lee Zeldin, says, no, you're not.
That's what happened.
That's what happens. So fluoride stays in, and they get what they want. And Brooke Rollins is the best at it. She can talk more for an hour and say nothing.
Okay, so And who appointed Lee Zeldin?
President Trump.
Who appointed Brooke Rollins?
President Trump.
What is Lee Zeldin's position?
He is the head of the EPA.
And what is Brooke Rollins' position?
She is the head of the USDA. And Bobby Kennedy is head of the HHS.
Mm-hmm.
And so then
he's
you have,
over in Omaha.
and then you have the FDA, and then you have the SBA, and then you have all these departments. They have all these people, and then you have Trump's cabinet. So you got good cop, bad cop. EPA may say, "Oh, I was supposed to have a meeting with Lee Zeldin and about weather modification." Well, he come out and said, "We're going to be transparent. You're going to know everything I know." Well, I was like, "Well, yeah, that's a great statement because you don't know jack crap." And so that's the reason you're saying that, and you don't really care. Well, Trump's cabinet guys are the one that killed that deal that made it. Lee Zeldin could change one of the big problems is sulfur dioxide coming out of the back of regular commercial airliners. It's junk in the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Lee Zeldin could change that with a stroke of a pen in 15 minutes. Change all the fuel. Boom.
And yet it hasn't been done. What's the reason given to us?
Because under the new NDAA bill that was just passed, in the NDAA bill, there's $900 billion in there that goes to the military industrial complex, and it's spread out, and it goes under weather operations and electromagnetic warfare, and there's one other one, and Lee Zeldin's all in that game, the weather warfare thing. And that's why they want the data centers, because the weather warfare is going to be connected to the AT&T towers, Verizon towers, NextRad. They'll be connected to the satellite systems, and then the planes that run through to put the sulfur dioxide out, the commercial airliners, and then you have the big NATO planes, then you have the cloud seeding, and it's all works together. And so the EPA is not going to get involved because it's already funded through 2026, and there's enough money in that project that you could create 5 million brand spanking new 120-acre farms, give them all a house, give them all a car, tractor, barn, supply the cattle, chicken, hogs, and walk away from it, folks. There's enough money in that to do that.
And they don't do that. Instead, what do? They spray us. Under Trump being president.
And Bobby Kennedy.
Okay. When I first spoke with you the very first time, I want to go back to something. Do you remember you had been speaking with somebody that was very high up in the military who was very excited about growing food on a military base, and that person had questions and all that? Where is that program? Is the military still moving forward with that at some point in this year in the spring, or is this dead in the water?
As far as I know, it's dead in the water. If you really look at any agricultural programs, I mean, President Trump, whether he's doing it on purpose or not, he's going to go down as the worst agricultural president in American history.
Mm.
Yeah, nothing's happening on this.
All right. You say also Florida, under the new farm bill, is the most dangerous piece of legislation in the nation. It takes away America's First Amendment right on speaking about pesticides used in Florida. Now, this is what got defeated this morning, right? And so this is not, we had reported on this yesterday that today was the day. So I'm glad to hear that it got defeated. But they were trying this stuff. And so, and then of course, the banning of ammunition online, which there's already limited for the people for that as well. It's difficult. It's difficult because it's a complicated situation. KM Sunshine wants to know, do you still sell potatoes? Well, this isn't potato season, right?
Yep. I do have some seed potatoes
seed potatoes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you buy the seed potatoes and then you plant it in the spring?
It's the same potato it was in the fall. It's just called a seed potato now because it's ready to go in the ground. But I can't actually sell seed potatoes because it crosses state lines, and I can't label mine as seed potatoes. But I have potatoes that I grew in the ground last year that I'm stored up for myself to plant that I would call seed potatoes for myself. But I can't say that they're seed potatoes for you. But if you want potatoes and you're going to say that you would eat a few of them, but whatever you do with them, and if you wanted to put them in the ground, then You call them whatever you want to call them. But yes, I have them.
Okay, how does this is insanity. I mean, I mean, if my viewers, their minds should be blown, and we should all. I mean, I'm sure we're all irate right now. This is the most insane thing. So, because it crosses state lines, you can't call it seed potatoes. This is insane.
Well,
Okay.
I don't call them seed potatoes, but I am going to plant them.
Okay, so if someone's watching and they want to buy some, how do they do that?
They can shoot. They can text my wife is the only way. And it's 208-875-9499. You want a box of potatoes? Shipping has gone up, folks. So it was $75. It's $78 a box now, but they're good potatoes and they'll be good for you to plant. And then they don't have any of the chemical stuff on them.
Oh my word. Explain about the seeds. Okay, so this is the thing. I'm thinking about buying a building, okay, that is similar to what my she shed would be, right? But this building is a greenhouse set up. And so like the Amish and the Mennonites are building these babies like they're going out of style. And so I question, though, is that a good idea? So what I'd like to do is put my plants inside the greenhouse, especially like tomato plants. And so, or green onions, for example, put them in a big pot, organic, supposedly organic, and plant them. So, but how does that work as far as if they're spraying the skies? How does that even help anything?
Look, I don't use a greenhouse. I never have. I've always now I do start my tomatoes inside in a windowsill. Yes, I do that. But I've never been a big tomato producer. I've always done potatoes and new potatoes, sweet potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, different things like that. Blackberries. But propagating and doing things. Here's your problem with your greenhouses. Electricity and heat is expensive. It's expensive to do. And I know a lady down here in Boise last year who was growing all her tomatoes in a big greenhouse. And she had, hundreds and hundreds of plants. Well, she went to the farmer's market to sell tomatoes and she was gone for 4 hours where her fans the electricity shut off and it shut the fans off in that greenhouse and it scorched and burned every single tomato plant. And that's what the biggest problem you have is greenhouses. It can be zero outside with a really, really sunshiny day and the no wind, and you can literally cook your plants. It's strategic. The only greenhouse system that I would do, but if you have a lot of underground water, you can't do this, is put the greenhouse in the ground. And the only thing out of the ground is just the roof. And you put it 6 to 8 foot deep and you put pipes in it and the earth heats it and cools it. And that's the best system.
That makes sense. Okay. That helps a bunch. Let's see. So, what is and I've got a viewer that says put them in a big garden boxes inside the building. Okay. So there was something. Oh, producer Ron was asking for you to repeat your wife's phone number.
Yeah. 208-875-9499.
All right. J Math says, I have a 10 by 12 garden, 5 foot above ground bins, and I'm going to sign up for Steve's course. It can only help me. That's a great point. Let's see. That's it. Okay, good. I was just looking at the viewer comments and questions, make sure that we got as much as we could in. Steve, thank you for being with us today. I appreciate it. I'm sure, there's so much going on and none of it looks good. And it's confusing because it is under President Trump and it is with also the people that he has appointed. So don't know if he is aware or, who knows? We'll see. Like I said, time always tells. So we'll see what happens. I find it very interesting too. You're talking about a couple of months ago that money, remember he made a big deal about the money for ag and many other people did as well. It was all over the news. Big deal, big deal, big deal. Everybody was all excited. $12 billion. You came on to my show and said, yeah, $12 billion isn't anything. And who got 40 billion?
So Argentina did. And let me just tell you this, breaking news just happened this morning about Argentina again. You and I have talked about this. I try to bring to your viewers what is happening in the future and what's the newest and the most important things.
Yeah.
Trump just this morning promised Argentina to quadruple the imports on beef into America. It's a disaster for ranches. That's why he's going to go down as the worst agricultural president.
Argentina. Okay, let's talk about this though. Oh my word. Okay, so I want to say it this way. Okay, there's so many things I can think about. All right, so I'm thinking about the farmers, the American farmer, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, wouldn't that be that we are giving our American farmers competitors those millions and billions of dollars instead of our American farmers?
Correct. So we'll have to do another show. I'm telling you, this stuff happens. I mean, and I left Maha and I still get all this information. People still contact me and send me all this stuff and say, hey man, you need to say something about this. I mean, I got that message on the ammo today, and then I get the message on, I mean, it just stuff, and I have to kind of cull through like what can I put my energy in towards,
Sure. Absolutely. I do the same thing because there's so much. So you have to draw the line somewhere, and what does this mean, and what does that look like, and what do the people really need to know? Because at the end of the day, how does this make their lives better? We're doing a show on Friday, and that show is it's day to day kind of things. What lotion are you putting on your skin, and what all's in it? And we're going to compare them and do some of those kinds of things because people don't know, they don't realize what they even put in a lot of the things that are at the grocery store or I tell you, the pharmacy is the last place I want to go. I've come to realize that in the last 6 years, that's the last place I want to go. But yeah, it's just insane. Steve, thank you so much for being here with us. Okay. Someone wants to buy the farm plan. Bring him back in, Ron. Please. Thank you. So Steve, someone wants to buy the farm plan. Is that the sas-usa.com? Okay, sas-usa.com to look at that, and the moon calendar. So I wanted to ask you about that too. So you were telling me the other day, is that the time to deworm is on a red day? Like you were talking about January, for example. So we just finished January 2026. And so you have is it a red day? Is that what you were calling it?
So these Red X days, so there's certain days of the every month has so many Red X days. These days are called barren days. You never plant on those days. You never prune trees on those days. These are signs of death. Okay. But what happens on these Red X days is worms and parasites are not laying eggs on those days. And so when you deworm your mammals on those days, and then you cycle every 28 days, then you get a double whammy because they're not laying eggs. And we've been doing this on our animals forever. And you get in that 28-day cycle, and that's what my calendar helps you do. Red X days, you deworm, build fence. You do plow ground on Red X days, because if you plow ground on Red X days, what that does, that helps get rid of the bad insects and the bad weed seeds. So you do plow on Red X days. So that's
You know what I find interesting and fascinating, though, that I've realized in the last 6 years is that there's so much that has come out that you end up realizing the farmers are the ones that really have it. The real farmers really have it like figured out, just like with ivermectin, it inside and out and all different kinds of stuff about it. And it's like, it's just so funny to me, and interesting that you all are using a lot of that, that knowledge that so many people had no clue about. And, and so much of it is what's applicable to us as humans is also applicable in many ways to our farm animals and our fur babies. Right.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And the thing about it is, see, if you do surgeries on your animals and you do surgeries on those Red X days, I kill animals on those days so they bleed out more.
All right. So Steve, what about as far as like everyday people, not a farmer? This is still something that they would need so that they would know if they're going to do maybe a garden in their backyard, or they want to vaccinate or not vaccinate. No, that's not the word, but do some kind of a parasite medication for or treatment. It's not a medication, but a treatment is what I would call it. And so for their fur babies. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. I already have it, but I just wondered, I bought it right away, but I just wondered about that part of it for other people. And I hadn't thought about the home gardens, just your everyday people. So that's a good point. All right,
well,
Steve.
Mowing your yard. I mean, there's so much to it. People used, our grandfathers and grandparents and great grandfathers, this was a lifestyle. It wasn't like they talked about it every day. They knew this stuff, and it's been stolen and lost.
That makes sense. All right. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you. All right. Great information. Okay. So one quick thing. I'm always talking on X about homeschooling your children. I'll share another story or this or that. Well, I got to show you this one. This one's making the show. It's just not an X post. Have you heard of sleepy stickers? Let's take a look.
This is 4-year-old Lane Luviano. She's the one that broke this case open in September when she snuck one of her sleepy stickers out of the classroom.
She kind of pulled up her little shorts and said, "Mom, look, this is my sleeping sticker." And I was like, "The what?"
When Lane's mom, Lisa, saw the sticker, she thought it was strange and asked her daughter about it.
And the teacher gives it to you, where she put it?
On my eye.
And what's it look like?
Sleeping with a moon on it.
Lane's dad says he's known something was wrong since school first started.
They never notified the parents.
So Lisa took matters into her own hands. She reached out to the other parents in Lane's class, sent them pictures of the patch to see if their kids were getting the stickers too.
I showed it to my 4-year-old, and she said, yes, that's the sleepy sticker. And if you read the ingredients on them, it has a lot of, it's just things I've never even heard of.
And they're giving them drugs to make them sleep, to keep them quiet.
Najala Abdullah tells us she'd noticed changes in her son, who told her he'd been getting the stickers too. She says he'd been crying, stopped eating, and was bringing home lunches that he hadn't touched.
Do you think it could be a crime? Most definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Okay, so earlier Steve was talking about a video that he put on about that cauliflower. He put it on his Instagram page. So let's take a look. Producer Ron's got it ready for us.
See how that is? The food's fake, folks. The snow's fake. The food's fake at the grocery store. You just saw me cut that steel. Your food's fake. Your food's fake. Have an online farm school, $500. And I'm the only farmer who writes his own moon phase calendar, signs the zodiac, teaches you when to plant. This is a must. They robbed this from y'all years ago so you wouldn't be successful in growing food. This is your green thumb, and you can grow anything, and you better do it, because all the things in the grocery store are fake.
All right, there you go. So that's what he was talking about earlier. On YouTube, I noticed the GL says, can we just order the calendar? Yes, you can. I didn't order the farm school, but I have the calendar. And so you can absolutely do that. You can go to sas-usa.com to do that. I saw where someone says, Michelle, I see it on your face, how much this is bothering you. I think it's more just complete shock. I don't know exactly what's going on. And just like everybody else, I know some people think they're convinced that they know what's going on. But look, even I tell you what bothers me. A lot of what bothers me. There's plenty that we have, and I say bother. I don't know. I think God has really given me a grace for a lot of this. I don't lose sleep at night. People say, how do you not, be so stressed out? And how do you take everything so well? And I think it's just God's just given me a grace for it. And, I don't let your heart be weary. Sometimes you may feel like you got to walk away from it. We try to present things also that are funny. I try to make sure you're informed, but I think also there's a little bit of balance, and we are trying to do all of this together. And so just like with the Seinfeld episode earlier, the point got made, but in a funny kind of way. And so because sometimes it's so absolutely insane, at some point we would go crazy if we didn't find somehow a way to laugh at the absolute nutso level that we're dealing with right now. And so, at the end of the day, though, I try to really focus on how things impact us and you, not even us, it's you, on a day-to-day, real, tangible way. And so, yeah, I mean, it bothers me on some level, but yet, what are we going to do? And so I pray and I talk to God about it. I ask God, to show me the things that, and I pray, for wisdom, knowledge, discernment. Pray, show me the things you want me to know. Show me the things you want me to say to my viewers. Show me what you want them to know. And so that's the best that I know that I can do in all of this. I'm called to be a teacher. And so just like with this about the children with the sleepy stickers, I share that because I don't know who's watching who has grandchildren or children that are in daycares right now. And mamas and daddies and grandmas and grandpas need to be aware of these things so that they can make sure that this isn't happening on a real personal level with their grandchildren and their children. And so, so I do things like that as well. That's why we show these kinds of stories so that you're aware that these are going on. Do I trust RFK Jr.? No. I don't trust anybody with the last name Kennedy. I figured that out when I read Kathy O'Brien's book, Transformation of America. Think about it. So a lot of her programming happened in Huntsville, Alabama, at the Kennedy Space Center that's in Huntsville, Alabama. I mean, you don't really have to have I don't know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out something stinks. Now, does that mean just because somebody's last name is Kennedy that they're evil? No, not necessarily. Somebody could, they could make different choices. But there were some things that we didn't talk about today that we just didn't get to that are in the Epstein files about RFK Jr. supposedly. And so, and his first wife and all that kind of stuff. And there's, whether or not they went on any kind of a excursion. Supposedly he went on an excursion with Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. Who knows? I smell skunk. And now we're seeing this photo of him with Kid Rock. And I know that, there's just a lot of stuff that's been going on that doesn't add up and doesn't make sense and doesn't look good. The Pam Bondi thing. Well, when I went to Mar-a-Lago, she was there. She was there at the ladies' luncheon. She was there at another time on the stage the next day. And so I just know she's been a fixture around there and part of while he's supposedly not president. And so I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. I do know that there are a lot of people listening to shows with people that are connected to these people, that are connected to Flynn. I have been told by many people that when they visited on other shows that probably many of you would also watch, I don't know, they were told they couldn't say anything negative about Flynn. And so it's like, what? There's all kinds of stuff that's going on. And so I don't have anything. I tell people, I don't care what you talk about as long as it's the truth. And so to the best of your abilities, to the best of your knowledge, as long as it's the truth. And I ask people to keep it clean. Please don't cuss. We try to make this a family show that's family friendly. So when little ears are walking by, it's okay. They're going to be fine. And so, I don't know. I think, and what I keep hearing in my spirit, and I've been hearing it for a while now, is false light, false light, false light. So I think we got a lot of false light. And RFK Jr., I hate to say it, I think he's one of them. And so I have thought that, and that's just where I'm at. And so I think something's very wrong. There are numerous Donald Trumps. We don't know which ones are good and which ones are bad. How do we not know there are numerous Melania Trumps? And how do we know which ones are good and which ones are bad? Is the one with the movie good or is the one with the movie bad? I mean, we don't really know anything. And so on a lot of this. And so I just try to take it, I I'm not, this is the thing too. I'm just not going to argue with people. Like, if you want to believe that, Trump is part of the, whatever, the Mossad, or he sold his soul and he did this, or okay. I mean, you can believe that. I can't prove one way or the other, neither can you. Were you at the ceremony? So you're going to believe what you're going to believe. And I'm going to believe what I'm going to believe. And that's why I just don't argue. And I really don't have an absolute opinion on most things because we don't know. And so it's when I think the danger is when we make up our minds on something we don't know for a fact. And so, and how do you know for a fact if you weren't there? And so there are such powers out there that could do all different kinds of things. And now with AI, I mean, someone could probably make me look like I'm sitting at the beach in 5 minutes. And I'm not even in a state that borders the ocean. So there's so much AI craziness out there right now, and that looks real, sounds real. So I don't know. I don't think that it's my job to know it all. I think it's our jobs, I think, are to take care of our families, to look to God, and to believe that he will tell us and show us what we need to know. That I think a lot of times hardships come so that we do that we get closer to him. I think, when we talk about, like, it's very hard for a wealthy man to make it to heaven. And so I think right now, when there's tough times, it makes tough people, tough men, tough women. And I think it also, when there's tough times, it draws you closer to him. And so I just always ask God, like, please show me. When God told me not to tithe to my church, I was like, okay. And I didn't say a word to a single person about it. I had plenty of relationships with leadership where I could have said, what's going on around here? There's a lot of people coming and going, and there's, the congregation is half of what it was, and this and that. But it was the Holy Spirit that revealed it to me. It was in his timing. And I was okay with that. But I have lived that out where I have said, I've just trusted God. I have the craziest testimony of that. I really need to talk about that in more detail, but because it was crazy. And God will put the explanation point on it where you will know that he just let you know what's going on. And it was crazy. So I just want you to know, like, at the end of the day, a lot of things are crazy. And there's some people that say, well, there's a fake Trump and he's in the White House and this whole, administration is all fake and it's all deep state and they're all part of, nothing that's any good. And there's a military operation and there's this and there's that. Maybe there is. I don't know. And so, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I'm going to do the best I can today. And then I'm going to get a good night's rest and I'm going to get up. And I'm going to do the best I can tomorrow. And that includes, like what Steve said, reading the Word of God, praying, seeking his wisdom, knowledge, and discernment, asking him, show me what you want me to see, what you want me to know. Give me the word. Give me the information that and some things just they're not for us to know, or it's not time yet. Our timing isn't always his timing. His timing is perfect. And so I just, I go with that. And I personally, though, when it comes to the show, I look at, okay, how does this impact on a day-to-day level the viewers? And that's why I don't spend a lot of time on a lot of stuff. I never said I don't cover anything with Erica Kirk, for example. What I said was I'm just not going to talk a lot about it. I think it's a big fat psyop. How about that? And I said time will tell. And guess what? I don't know. I think time's telling pretty good for me. I just don't need to do a play-by-play on that, because what do we really know? I mean, it wasn't looking good right out the gate. So, okay. I mean, I hope that my sons marry a woman who grieves, I don't know, longer than 10 minutes. So, I don't know, that was the first thing. So with all that said, I hope that all of this does bring you even closer in your relationship with him. And I hope that it helps you to keep things in perspective, because whoever, or wherever, like Charlie Kirk's at, for instance, like, what's the whole Valhalla thing? But I'm not losing sleep over it. And so I'm going to lose sleep over this sleepy kid thing, though, because I think on our watch, we need to know. And we need to make sure that we do our part to get that spread around, make sure that those with young children that are in daycare are aware that this is going on, and make sure it's not happening to their babies. And so I think there's some of that. We need to come together as a community and help one another. I hope that helps. But that's the way I see it. That's just like coming up with a solution and being part of the solution. And so that's what Godly Granny's about, you know? And so I'm part of the solutions. I bring you solutions to real problems that you have, just like I was asking Steve, well, how do you get potatoes and all of that? So that way, if you want to grow some potatoes of your own from good seed potatoes, then now you know where to get them. So GL says, thank you, Michelle, one day at a time. Yeah, one day at a time. And, you know, I know that look, we're just passing through this place. So I try to keep things in perspective. Yes, we want to have a good time here. We want to have a great, you know, we want to leave it a better place for our children, and we want to fulfill the plans and the purposes for which we were created. And so that's what I focus on. And a lot of this other stuff, I think, is confusion. And who is the author of confusion? It's the enemy. And it's to keep us from being focused on the things that actually matter. So if you'll spend days and days and days, months at this point, months and months, worrying about what happened with Charlie Kirk and, you know, who was scaling the ceiling of the building and all this and that and the play-by-play and all, well, okay, but you can do that, but is that really the best use of your time? That's why I try to give you the headlines and then we move on with it. You know, I'll show you a video that shows a lot of stuff in a short amount of time and go, wow, that's impactful. And let you draw your own conclusions, because I wasn't called to create little Michelles. My husband would say, oh my, he can only handle one anyways. So, all right. I hope that helps. Don't forget about our documentary tomorrow. Today's the last day of the Godly Granny sale, 20% off. Don't forget about that too, until 11:59 Central Standard Time tonight. And very excited that we're going to have Eve back on Friday. And I have asked her to go through some very popular products and tell you what's in them. And she brought up a point today that I hadn't thought about. Remember how I told you that our products are our products? They have the inky deck on them because we're not doing funny business with our products. I'm not having that. And so in other countries, they don't allow certain things. So we're in the United States, well, there's a lot of stuff that's allowed here. And so you would think, oh, well, it would be the opposite. No. And so what happens is we create, manufacture, we produce all of those things all for the same at the highest level. And so, but she was telling me some things that she was seeing and some practices that have to be going on. So we're going to be talking about that on Friday and showing and sharing some of that. But oh my goodness. I asked her, I said, how many things are you seeing in the ingredient list of these products that are on our product list that we never use, our dirty 5 dozen? She was like, a whole bunch. And it was so funny. I mean, it's not funny, it's crazy, but that's just reality. And that goes to show me that we're doing exactly what we need to be doing when it comes to Godly Granny. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Steve certainly put a light on quite a bit of stuff like he always does. And I'm sure we'll have him back soon. He's always entertaining too. So I think he's funny. All right. We'll see you right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
There aren't a lot of reasons to use Godly Granny products. There's every reason, because every time you twist or flip a cap on something from Godly Granny, you're voting no to chemicals and yes to common sense, but without all the electronic voting machines. With Godly Granny, there's no toxins, no chemicals, no endocrine disruptors, no cancer-chasing filler. Godly Granny is a small batch, made-to-order, deeply naturopathic wellness brand. Founded on biblical truth, formulated with pure purpose, and handcrafted by saved folks who know that freedom doesn't come from fake lavender and phthalates. Go to godlygranny.com today. Be sure and use the discount code Michelle20 at checkout to receive 20% off your entire order.
Hi friends, it's Michelle Moore. And when it comes to protecting your retirement, I believe in taking smart, steady steps. Bank of America analysts call gold the ultimate safe haven. And when it comes to precious metals, I trust Universal Coin and Bullion, the official rare coin and bullion dealer of my show. They have been named the best in their industry both nationally and regionally by leading organizations. Consider a gold IRA, a time-tested way to diversify your portfolio with real tangible assets, which lets you move a portion of your retirement savings into physical gold, helping protect your wealth from inflation, market swings, and economic uncertainty. And Universal Coin and Bullion makes the process easy. From rollovers to delivery, they walk you through every step, even if you have one with another gold company. Protect what you've worked so hard to build from the team that I trust, Universal Coin and Bullion, at 800-321-8700, and make sure to tell them Michelle sent you.
Hi, I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the inventor of the Wave Watch, the world's first frequency therapy watch. It features over 1,100 targeted frequencies combined into 150 playlists for ease of use. These sounds are acoustical and they move through your body, through your skin and your bones. You don't necessarily have to hear it. As each frequency goes through, it can be realigning, revitalizing, reconnecting, and even rebalancing your body all the way to the cellular level. So that's why we have so many testimonies for aches, ADD and ADHD, allergies, colds and flu, dental, emotions, headaches, joints, kidney stones, nerves, organs, skin health, swelling, tremors, vagus nerve, and so many more. Use this code for $100 off when you purchase the Wave Watch. Thanks for learning about frequencies, using them, and supporting the Wave Watch.
For Michelle's social media links, go to michellemooreshow.com.